think it's already being recorded. It said
It-
that.
It's like the AI is doing it, like it's doing
Oh, okay.
recording. So, and I learned
Okay.
that the hard way because I thought I was recording and I wasn't. I was like, oh goodness. So hopefully I'm right in what I'm telling you. I could be off. So welcome everyone to Brain Northwest programming. We're delighted to have you here with us today, and I'm happy to be a co-learner with you. My name is Reggie. I'm the Resource and Education Manager, and we have the privilege of having Michaela with us today. And she is the owner of Bear All Counseling and has a lot of experience in teaching and really empowering attendees on different topics. And today, she's going to be talking about identity and really talking about who we are behind the personas that we think we're supposed to maintain, the masks that we put up, which is really an important piece of living with disability and just being a social creature in this era regardless. So, Michaela, thank you for being here with us today. Michaela is hailing from Oklahoma, which is awesome. Um,
Yeah.
I'm coming from Seattle. Some of us are coming from different places, so really fun. So, take it away.
Awesome. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. I'm so excited to have each of you here today. I know that we're probably all in different time zones, and so I really want to just dig right in. I want to dive right in. I want to talk about identity. I want us to, as we kind of talk, just know that it is okay to have questions. I'm going to go over some objectives and some ground rules. I like to just always lay that out at the beginning of any time that I am like facilitating a conversation. And so today, our objectives are going to be discovering the you behind the labels. So, who are you if you're not maybe caregiver or brother, sister, spouse, whatever maybe your employment role or title is. Also, identifying your personal value system. When we have our personal value systems intact and we can understand and acknowledge what those are, a lot of times it can point us back to our true north. And so they can really help us stay in balance and in tune, like with what the things that are important to us. Okay. And then unmasking from assigned roles. And so I'm sure that there's probably both sides here, whether you may be the caregiver or you may be the one helping getting some care taking of, unmasking from that assigned role, regardless of where you fall. And then shifting from human doing to a human being, right? We are all human beings. And so sometimes we get so caught up in our titles and our roles, and those are all just focused on a lot of action, and there's just power in just being. And so we're going to explore some of that today. I always like to go over ground rules. I'm so excited that each of you have shown up. That's the first step. Dropping your labels at the door. So that's very fitting for just even what we're going to explore today. But then being respectful of one another's viewpoints, or just when someone else is speaking, allowing each of us to have a voice in a space here. And then that kind of goes into everyone having a voice. And then knowing that this is a safe space. And so just knowing that, like, no matter what your background is, no matter where you come from, like how you even found yourself here on this, in this class today, like this is a safe space for you. And I want us to participate. I think that there's power in learning from one another. And so I may be here teaching, but I am not the end all be all expert by any means. And so I love to invite everyone in as having their own ideas, and then being open minded. And we're going to have fun, and just know that emotions are welcome here in whatever shape, way, or form that they come. And so as we go, like if you have questions, if you know how to work like chat or anything like that, I know that Reggie will be, she'll be checking the chat. And so if you have any questions or a hand raised, anything like that, please let me know. But feel free to engage. Like, I don't want this to just be one sided. I want to engage as we explore what this just this topic of identity is today. Okay, so we're gonna just dive right in. So Identity. So when we just define identity, just as a bare minimum, um, from Merriam-Webster, it says the distinguishing character or personality of an individual. What comes to mind when you think about your identity? Is it, and just to kind of give some examples, is it things that people have placed on you? Are there labels that have people have placed on you? Or are there just things and viewpoints that you have about yourself, right? Like, or do you identify, like when you just think about, maybe, we just said that I'm from Oklahoma. So maybe a part of my identity could be I'm an Oklahoman, right? Maybe a part of my identity could be my, oh, okay, good. I see some chats coming in. I'm a woman, right? Like that's a part of my identity, right? Okay, someone said by diagnosis. And so when you think about identity, what are things that you think of that describe you? Love's presence. Okay. Okay, that's a part, or disability. Okay, thank you all for participating in the chat. Who's nervous and uncertain. Okay, so that's some a way that you would define yourself, right? And so what we are going to explore today, and again, it's going to be two-sided. I'm going to talk a lot about what caregiver identity theory is, but then I also want to bring that into both sides, right? The caregiving piece and also the person that maybe feels like those that identified as maybe having a disability or a diagnosis, right? And so when we think about our identity, and so I'm gonna do it twofold. When you maybe were diagnosed, right? And or maybe your loved one or whoever like helped support you, maybe when they were there with you, maybe when you were maybe getting that diagnosis, right? There's an initial stage, right? There's an initial stage of when we begin to define ourselves by something maybe that's happened to us, right? And so maybe for some that maybe are on here that are caregivers, maybe you've just said, oh, I'm just helping this person out. Like you didn't necessarily, you haven't taken on the role as caregiver. You're just like, I'm just helping this person out. Like this is somebody I love. This is someone I care about. I'm just helping them out, right? And maybe for the person that is on here that's like, well, I'm the person that has the disability. I'm the one that got the diagnosis. I'm the one that had an event happen, right? And so maybe you haven't even labeled, right? Maybe you haven't labeled yourself as having a disability yet. Maybe just something's happened, right? Maybe a circumstance has happened in your life. I want to also acknowledge, I see some other chats. Oh, okay. Are you hearing me okay? It's a bit of a delay. I'm kind of watching my screen as well. So I'm seeing myself, but I don't know how it's coming out on the other side. So please definitely keep me posted on that. I'm so sorry. Okay.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. She said
It's
it's good
good
on
for
her
me
end.
too. It's
Okay.
Okay.
fine.
Okay. Thank you all. I love the feedback. Correct me. I love it. And so when we begin to talk about caregiver identity, or we talk about just our personal identity, sometimes we don't view ourselves yet, right? We maybe are in that initial phase, or maybe we have gotten to a point where we're emerging in that identity. So maybe when you think about when you maybe had your a first diagnosis, right? Maybe you went to the doctor and they were like, "Hey, this is what has happened, and here's the description how we would describe this," right? So maybe that now provided some additional knowledge. It provided some additional understanding. And now maybe you took that label on. You know, that sheet of paper that we leave, we go to the urgent care and we're like, hey, I came in for this stomach ache, or I came in for this ear pain. And at the bottom, right, normally on like maybe page 3 or 4, they've given you a label, right? They've diagnosed you with something, right? And so then you just begin to communicate that to people like, oh, yeah, I went to the doctor and this is what they said, right? So now we've now partnered with this label, right? And maybe that's all we see ourselves as, or all we see ourselves experiencing like everything is through that lens, right? Maybe it's like, oh man, like, well, I had this injury. I know I saw I believe Dana on here, and she was on here last time, and she shared, I don't want to share for her, but just sharing about an event that happened years ago, right? But it's still something that we're identifying as. And so what we want to really explore today, wherever you find yourself, like whether you're in an initial stage, I'm not sure where each and every one of you all are on here today, but sometimes our identity is still tied to a previous role, right? When we've lost someone, right? Maybe we've lost a spouse, or we've lost a parent, or we've lost a maybe we've lost a child, or we've lost a job, right? A way of life, because an event has happened to us. And so we haven't fully figured out what this new identity looks and feels like yet, but maybe we're still in that in between, right? And maybe it's beginning to emerge, and we're like, okay, I'm recognizing that life does not look the same, or I'm recognizing that the way that I've known this person feels different, right? Maybe the interactions are now different. Excuse me. And so that begins to then form that claimed identity, right? Now this is no longer just, oh, like I'm just helping out, or I guess this has happened, so these are maybe things I'm now experiencing, or I can identify some of these elements, right? But now I'm claiming, like, maybe I now am a caregiver, or I'm whatever your name is, right? And fill in the blank, whatever you would identify yourself as, right? Um, that's so good. Identity diverse is very relatable. Yes. Um, let's see. I want to just kind of, there's a lot of interaction happening on the chat. So I'm gonna look over here. Okay, yeah, almost 2 years. Let's see. It says almost 2 years of functioning has changed, and maybe forever. I'm working in my field, but only part time. So a piece of your identity has changed, right? Like you're saying, over the past 2 years, life as you knew it does not look the same, right? Something has taken place. When a TBI is all encompassing, it is a challenge to consider anything else. Our entire identity, someone said our entire identity. How many of you all can relate with that message, where you feel like whatever has taken place, whether it's been a TBI, whether you are supporting a loved one with a TBI, or any type of life-changing event, that has now become your entire identity.
Me is John.
Yeah. Hi, John.
Hi there. I relate to that very much so.
Thank you so much, John, for sharing that. That's so good. And
I
so,
put a question in my chat. I'm sorry to interrupt.
oh
But
no, it's okay. Let me try to go up. Some of them were coming in so fast. Let's see. How do I find out what my soon-to-be ex-wife and family, what they
So
were?
John had a question, and he was wondering how to find out
if
what his
possible, like I
yeah.
don't know if she was told something about what her life would look like or something like that.
Hmm. Yeah. Have you had a direct
I'm sorry if this is off topic.
No, it's not
And
off topic.
I'm
No.
sure you guys don't know either, but I would be like, I'm dying to know like what my family and my soon to be ex wife were told after my TBI ladder accident when I was in a coma.
Yeah.
Because now she wants to like a divorce from me, and I think that's crazy. But to her not to her credit, but I don't know like what she was told as far as like what I was gonna look like after it was all said and done if I woke
Yeah.
up from my coma. So it just
Other
feels
than
like
that,
she was told
mhm,
like, hey, this guy would never wake up, and if he does, he's gonna be your problem for the rest of your life. I don't know.
right. Yeah. Other than being able to ask her directly or being asked to ask for your medical records, like Meredith said, that is some really important information that I appreciate that you would want to know that. John, I'm going to put my phone number in the chat, and then you and I maybe can have a call and talk about that and see if we can tease some details out, okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
You bet, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. And just to John's point, I think that just brings up a really great point and an experience for a lot of people. How either a TBI and or maybe you're on the other side of someone experiencing a TBI in your life and how that literally can change your life in a moment. You get news and one moment things were normal and the next moment a part of that identity has been shifted, right? And
Mhm.
so when we begin to think about what identity really means, that distinguished character, right? The ways in which we've lived and, been able to express ourselves, right? Just really the core of who we are, right? Like just our DNA, what makes us us. A lot of times, like when we have events or we have just different things that in our life that can happen, it not only shifts our lives, but it shifts the lives of everyone that is connected to us, right? And so there can become so much in that, right? It can become grief. There can be pain. There can be frustration. I kind of heard that in John's voice of just some of that frustration because something happened and you don't even know the fullness of maybe what others were told, or you're having a hard time even navigating some of the other whether it's your medical records or just other just basic things that you once did with ease, right? It's changed things forever. And so what I want us to do for a few moments, I love activities, but I want us to, if you have like a phone, if you have a piece of paper, if you have just something that you can write on, anything like that, I would love for us to do a exercise. We're going to do, you can draw it out like a mask, however you want, but I'm just going to kind of show you, like you literally can take the piece of paper and write. I don't think, oh, you can't see that on there. So it says internal on one side, and on the other side, I want you to write external. Okay? Because what I want us to really begin to see is what are the things that we tell ourselves? What are the labels that have been placed on us by others? And this is a lot of, this can be as the caregiver, this can be as the individual that has had a TBI or any type of other experience that has shifted your life as you knew it. And so, what are the things that go through your mind? And so, I want us to really begin to see, like, what are the things that nobody would ever know about us, right? What are those internal dialogues that we have daily with ourselves, right? Like, do you say that you're not good enough? Do you say how will life ever look the same or look better, right? What are those things that we speak to ourselves sometimes? And then what are the things that people say, right? Because we also have to realize that when we, regardless of how we identify ourselves, not only do the things that we speak to ourselves matter, but also the things that other people around us, like the labels that they place on us, can really impact us as well, for the good and also for the negative, right? And so I want to give you all a few minutes just to begin to write some things out. And if anyone is comfortable, you can share it also in the chat, whichever way that works for you. Because I don't know if everyone has a piece of paper, but you may just be in the chat already. So if you're willing to share, we would love to see some of those things. Good. Gonna go through the chat too and just see if there's anything I need to. I don't recognize or feel like myself anymore. Olivia, that's a internal label, right? Like that's something we tell ourselves and feel like, right? And then that can impact how we show up. Because sometimes when we say those things, it's like, I'm not even gonna try, right? Like I'm not even gonna get up and try to do something maybe that I once did before because you don't even feel like yourself, right?
Someone
That's
else is sharing um, that they have really through the help of support groups and with time have found that they like themselves better than before, which is a pretty special thing to share. That's quite
it's so
powerful.
special. Yes.
Mhm.
Wow.
Mm, nice, John.
That's amazing, Lynn.
I like that. John 2, like John 2.0. Right on.
Yeah, that's so good.
And I want to say that brain injury diagnoses, other injuries, life transitions, like it is part of being human to reinvent ourselves and reconnect with ourselves. We really do not stay the same. There are
Yeah.
too many things that happen in our lives and interactions we have with people and experiences. So we do have the opportunity to check in on our identity and where, yeah, on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's so good, John. He says, every day I think about what I can or should do. And that's so good. Like to just have that growth mindset to still be able to find hope, right? Each and every day. That's powerful. Does someone have their, I don't know if she had her hand raised. I think Meredith has her hand raised, Reggie.
Can
Oh,
I
I can't go for it. I can't see it. Sorry. Go
Okay,
for
no,
it.
it's
can I
okay.
talk? Can I
Yeah,
talk
go
instead
ahead.
of type? Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. There's so many things I want to say, so I'll try to keep it short. But excuse me, I just had my 30-year brain anniversary from my traumatic brain injury. And it's I've been through everything, so I understand what everyone is talking about. And on the positive side, I just want to say, like, I never really even knew anyone with a disability or anything about like people with disabilities until my accident, and I had to learn how to walk and talk and sit up in a chair and brush my teeth, and I had to relearn everything. I couldn't go back to my career. I was a preschool teacher. I was 22 in my accident, but I was a preschool teacher. I had my bachelor's degree, and I couldn't do it. It was just too much. Once I recovered and was able to go home, I couldn't. I tried, and it was too much. Like 2-year olds everywhere, too much responsibility, and I had to figure out a new career and a new everything. And it totally changed my life. And I started working with people with traumatic brain injuries, and I went back to school with all the help from Department of Rehab. The Department of Rehab in there's one in every state, and hopefully still, and they paid for my. They do anything to get you back to work. That's their main priority. And so I needed to learn a new career. So they said they paid for my school, my everything, books, tuition, everything. For they told me about accommodations to help me in my classes. It was just so awesome. I couldn't have done it without them. Like literally, it was so supportive and helpful. And when I got my degree and graduated, they helped me find a job, and they taught me interview skills and sent me job leads and just helped me through my whole college, and finding a job working in the field that I like, that I love, that I have a passion for. But what I want to say is purpose is really important besides recovery. Just, you know, speech therapy then is number one. I had to learn how to walk and or talk, and I still have trouble. I talk too fast. I'm sure all of you,
Doing amazing.
but I had to do I was in a coma. I died 3 times and they had to revive me. And so I've been there, done that. I've been scammed. I've been taken advantage of. I've been screwed over. I've been discriminated. I mean, everything bad. I had the worst, just everything was the worst. Trying to apply for benefits and this and that. And oh, it's just exhausting. And it's something I really knew nothing about. But I've learned so much in the last 30 years. Just I'm like so passionate, and I work with people with brain. I'm not working for pay right now, but I still volunteer and come to these meetings and try to. I have so many resources in my brain. I just want to help you guys and like tell you I understand and I've been there. But there is hope that too. So I'll shut up now.
Thank you,
No, thank
Meredith.
you, Meredith.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All
Um,
of that I can relate to, by the way. I've been scammed as well. So thank you, I
yeah,
guess.
that's so good. That just testimonies like that are what this is about. I know that that's just a part of like what Brain Northwest it's like mission is, but also I think just more importantly than like everything that you just said, Meredith, like I think the theme that I heard in all of it is that you overcame, and like you can identify with that now, like you're an overcomer, and not only did you overcome, but you are now helping others overcome, and you're sharing the knowledge and the resources. And so I think as we're talking about identity and we're talking about labels, there's such beauty in what has come out of your story, right? And I think just some of the others that I'm seeing in the chat, like despite the label, right? Because I think that's what we're getting at. It's like, how do we unmask for the labels that have maybe been placed on us, that we've placed on ourselves, the things that have tried to maybe prevent us from living a life, right? Or just being so sucked into this is my life now, and this is just what I have to like deal with. It's like there's so much more. Like you've gone to school, you've found community and groups that have continued to help you. And so I hope that that's an encouragement to each and every one of you on here. Yes, owning one's story is powerful. Thank you so much for saying that, Reggie. I was looking through just some of the comments in the chat. And so someone said their internal, like, who can I be now? I'm still me no matter what. I'm enough. Like, that's so powerful. That is a powerful internal dialogue to have. Because that's not one of defeat, right? That's one saying that like I can actually continue to recover, right? Um, and then external, like you look good. That is amazing, right? When you can look like you don't look like what you've been through, right? When someone can just look at you and just say, like, wow, like you look great. And maybe they've known you, or maybe they haven't known you, right? And then you have the other side of that, right? Like you're still recovering. So we have some of the pressures that, right? Because that sometimes can add pressure. Like, oh, you're still recovering. And sometimes that can send a signal to us of like, well, am I not doing enough? Right? Am I not enough now? And so we have to really be mindful, right? About the things that not only we're communicating to ourselves, but also the things that we're truly taking in by those in like the external world, right? Around us. And so thank you all so much for sharing invisible trauma. That is so good. I don't know if it's Ty Lee or if it's just Ty, but invisible trauma. I'm sure that many can relate with that. The things that people would never know. They don't see. It's not something that they can just outwardly like look at you and know like you've had an experience, you've been through trauma, and sometimes that can feel so lonely, right, and isolating. And we can begin to just even identify with that because it's like, well, nobody's really looking to, they don't think something's wrong, or they don't even know something may be going on, right? And so that can add another layer of isolation in and of itself, right? And so just even having groups like this where you are hearing other people share, like, hey, me too, like I understand where you're coming from, just like John was just able to share with Meredith, like, hey, I've experienced being scammed too, right? The things that you experience that sometimes people could look at you and never know, right? And that's good. That's what my "you look good" remark was about. Yeah, that can feel very isolating, and it can feel um just sometimes it can just, I don't know if y'all anybody like me, but it's just kind of like you ain't got no idea like what you're saying to me, right? Sometimes it's like because people don't know. And so I think that that's the power of the share and the power of your story, right? And so I want to ask some questions. Um let's So this can be double-sided, because this can be for caregiving, and or this can be for those that have had a brain injury or just some type of other traumatic event of just like, when did you first realize you were not just helping? Or that maybe on the other side, like when did you realize like, oh, I'm gonna need more help than what I'm getting right now? Maybe you went from being like completely independent to, I know some of you all talked about, John mentioned being in the hospital in a coma, right? That change, he could not communicate for himself. So then it's like, when did you first realize either that you weren't just helping and like maybe you are the caregiver, or on the other side of that, like when did you realize like, oh man, like I'm gonna need way more help than I ever realized? And how has that changed? How you viewed yourself, um, the confidence, the lack of confidence, how has that shifted something for you in a positive and or negative way? And feel free, you can put this in the chat, you can um, get on and say something. And if Reggie, if you see anyone, please let me know because I'm not seeing everyone. I'm trying to make sure I'm going through all of it.
Mhm. I'm not able to see everyone either. So if someone
Okay, I
has
think
something yeah.
Meredith, did you have your hand up again?
Yeah. What
Okay.
I what I meant to share originally was this. I went to a class right after my brain injury. It had just started at a junior college near me in San Diego, and they have a brain injury class, and they taught all kinds of different aspects of brain injury. One of the classes we got these like stick figure drawings, and one was before my TBI and one was after. And we just had to draw on it or write on it or whatever we wanted to do on the old me and new me. And it's just really interesting. Like I still have all my notes because I'm just like that. But I still have them, and it changes like all the time. It changes because I definitely don't feel the way I did when I first did that exercise. The more and more I was in speech rehab and getting better, um, you know, it just
Yeah.
proves. I don't know. It just helps to like redo it every once in a while and look back and see. Oh, I am doing better. I
Yeah.
do feel better about myself.
It's a progression. Like you get to see your progress. I was just gonna ask a follow-up to that, Meredith. Do you remember anything that when you had kind of those two picture sides of like your old me and your new me, do you remember anything? Um, that you viewed yourself like as that you no longer viewed yourself as?
Well, yeah, I felt, I mean, you feel stupid. You don't understand what's going on. It feels like you wake up in a foreign country and you don't know the language. Like nobody speaks. Like I didn't know what the TV was in my room, because I know this because my mom took notes. Like she wrote like a journal of every day I was in a coma, what the doctor said, everything. So I have like a 50-page like book that she wrote. So that's the only reason I remember. But no, I don't remember anything from that time except just learning everything again. It's just like wow. And I needed to have it like in paper, like on paper, so I could see it, because short-term memory is like a big problem after a brain injury usually. And so I had like no short-term memory. It's still bad right now. But so when it's in writing, I can be like, oh, here, look at that. And it's like proof. I wrote it. That's how,
Yeah, thank you so much
that's
for
that's
sharing.
my memory is
No, that's
writing
so
things
good.
down.
It's so good. And maybe some of you all can just even adopt that practice, right? Like to just even continue to see your progress. Lisa, I know that you had your hand raised. So if you want to come off of yeah, hi.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I knew right away when I stood up from the fall. I didn't know that I'd been unconscious, and I swore that I hadn't been. In fact, I was anti that didn't happen. That didn't happen. But I was hallucinating, and so what I was actually saying was that I'm fine, everything's great. But I had my hallucination that I was having for a few months after involved me talking to the people around me in what I saw as a little room in my head. Like the same
Yeah.
perspective, like they're like different front. I could see them in the conversation, but also in the room. And so I would say the bad things in the little room and think everybody heard me because I saw them there. And I don't have that. I'm not experiencing that anymore. That's been, well over a year since that. But so it was just, so I got sent home from urgent care and and I was hallucinating and talking to them there, telling them what was going on and how bad I thought it was. But I wasn't, they weren't hearing it because I wasn't actually speaking it to them. So anyway, I knew it was bad right away. I also understood why. I communicated in real time that it was fine. And it took my doctor labeling it hallucination. I was telling everybody about the room in my head.
Wow.
It's not funny. I mean, it's funny, it's not funny, but and nobody said anything about it until my doctor labeled it hallucination, and that kind of broke that. I mean, I still did it from time a little bit for a while, but anyway, um, so I knew everything was different from the very second that I stood up. But thankfully, I never needed full-time caregiving. It's just more that I needed help, which I was luck, my husband was able to help, and he still does when I say I'm not sure if I'm looking at that right, or he'll say I'm not sure you're looking at.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. I'm glad that you have your husband and he's been able to help you and, be able to be a support to you. That's very important. Just on a journey to recovery.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway,
No, thank you so much for sharing that. Because I'm sure that everyone's experiences were different. Like you said, right away, like something was different. And for some, there that may not have been, or for some, Meredith kind of shared of just not remembering really anything of that time. And so just even understanding that it looks different for everyone. And you've all had your own individual journeys in that. And I'm looking at the chat. April said, that's really powerful, April. Um, that and I think that Reggie maybe kind of said that, like that survivor's like pressure, or just that it's almost like that survivor's guilt sometimes, right?
That's
When
what it is. That's for sure. I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's sometimes what it is. This is John. I think you said like you had made an example earlier. You said, "Oh, when somebody says something, you don't know how I used to be," but
Mhm.
like now, I feel like for me, it's like because my sister in law just sent me pictures of me at the Shepherd Center when I was in a coma way down there in Atlanta. And I've never seen those pictures, but I have like it's weird to me. Like, what in the world was she told? Because she always looks at me and she has seen what I look like, and she looks at me and she goes, "Oh, you're improving. You're doing so well." And I wonder myself, what is she basing that off of? Like, what? She knows I was like in a wheelchair in a coma, but what does she know or think that, or what do I think she was told, or does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. And
John,
so
yeah, I was just gonna say your concern is so valid. It's got to be an extremely scary experience. It's scary for all of us to be vulnerable, but to be vulnerable in a position where you're not even conscious is profound. So you and I'll talk after this call, and hopefully that might help, give you just some relief because it's very important to talk about these kinds of things. And
Thank
I
you.
also, you bet,
Thank you.
absolutely. And I wanted to say, Lisa, thank you so much for your vulnerability and what you shared. That was really, that's a big deal to share that. And I know that your vulnerability is helping other people feel just more safe with what's going on for them. So, so much courage in this.
yes, it is. Reggie, I think Dana has her hand up.
Okay. Um, I'm in a right walking brace for my paralysis on my right side. It's getting the messages up to my brain correctly. And the 10th of September, I went to my rehab doctor. And a week before that, I got a letter saying that his position has ended at Kaiser Permanente. And so I'm going to my regular doctor to get, that kind of support that I need now for my brace and everything and the corrections on my brace. But when I was seeing him, he was so upset and he said, "Well, Dana, you made it through your head injury. I can make it through this," what he was going through. And see, we don't even see ourselves as, struggling people, but other doctors, especially know how much we go through. And so I had the choice of either getting rid of this brace or um and going back to my arch will never grow back in my foot, so the brace gets the messages up to my brain properly. And so I chose to stay in the brace and go through continued rehab. And that's a question that, I could say, "Oh, I'm not brain injured, but I know I am, and I got to get this right."
That's so good. Thank you so much for sharing that, Dana. I think that it goes back to how each of these experiences are so different and so unique. And so what your experience was may be different for someone else on here, but there has been decisions that you've each had to continue to make. In this new way of living, right? In this new way. Like I see someone else in the chats talked about, they're talking about it from a caregiving aspect, right? It's just like that changing of the mind of like, oh, I may need this help or support, right? To continue to redevelop or relearn different things, so that I know you kind of kept talking about, so that these messages can get to your brain, right? So that
Right.
you can operate and function in the way that you're meant to and you're designed for, right? And so thank you so much for sharing that. That like I just I love sharing. Like I love hearing people share stories. I think there's power in a share. And I think that just even as you all are not just sharing verbally, but through this chat, people are being helped. Even those that may not be saying something, like everyone on here is going to be able to take something away because they're either being able to relate, right? Or just even find just understanding through some of you all's transparency and vulnerability. So I really, really appreciate um, the the participation. The participation is amazing, and I think it's Carol. I wanted to acknowledge. I know that you spoke in the chat, and that shift of becoming a caregiver and not just your husband's wife or helper, that is a huge shift, right? My grandma, she has dementia, and I have seen my mom and my aunt step into not the daughters, but really like the parent, right? Like they've had it's been a shift, right? And so that shift can take time, and that also shift comes with you're still honoring that person, right? Like this is who this you still love this person, you still respect this person, you still care for this person, and you now have taken on a new role with that person. And so I just wanted to acknowledge you. So thank you so much for sharing that, even in the chat, because everyone's journey, right, is different. I do want to, I know we're kind of getting down to some of the time. So I want to explore this thought briefly. What our core values are, right? We've talked about what we identify as, um, either labels that have been placed on us by others externally, or things that we've, those self or internal labels that we've placed on ourselves. But I think that it's so incredibly important to know what we value, because when we know what we value, no matter whatever comes our way through life, through new experiences, through traumatic experiences, we can get back to the foundation of the core of like what's important to us. A lot of times they say kind of just in the psychology world, sociology world, that having like 2 to 3 core values, right, that we can kind of frame our lives with, can be very, very important. It can help shape. So for me, I always say that faith, family, or community, they kind of fall in that same category for me, and fun. That's a part of my value system. And so everything that I do, or the things that I say yes to, or the things that I try, they all tie in to those themes, right? Like, does this align with my value system? And so, and this is not an exhaustive list. I wanted to give you all just some things to think about. Some of you all may know things that you value, but even as you're thinking about either the new way that you're showing up, or maybe this is, some of you all have talked about this has been 15, 20 years, life has looked different, but there's never a wrong time to reevaluate, like, what are my values? What is a part of my value system in how I show up daily, right? So some of those statements we talked about earlier that we identify as, sometimes that can tie into our values, right? Perseverance, that's so powerful, right? When we talk about perseverance, that then reflects how we show up daily, right? I know Meredith shared earlier, and we talked about like she's overcame a lot and now she's helping people, right? That's probably a part of her core value system. A lot of you all that have shared on here, authentically, right? Your authentic selves. You're not ashamed of who you are, how you show up. And so that's going to come out everywhere. And does anyone, and you can have other ones, but I want you all to just think about it. Even if you take a picture of the screen, I know that Reggie will have this to send out to you all as well. So you can even, this is not something you have to do right now, but I want you all to definitely be able to go back and really get clear on what your values are. What are the things that not only do you identify yourself as, right? Like it makes you you, but what are the values that you align your life and your decisions daily with? Right? What are things that no matter what happens in life, right? If for fun, right? Like for me, I love to laugh. I love fun. Like like life can be lifing, right? There can be so many things happening in life, but it's like, how do I incorporate some type of fun? Because that's something that's of value to me. That's something that brightens my day. And so getting to a point where you have things that you can always just fall back on. Like, hey, maybe today was a challenging day, but like what's a part of my value system that like I want to make sure that like I acknowledge today? If it's fun, if it's, if it's creativity, right? Whatever, if it's adventure, trying something new, whatever that looks like, make sure that those things align with your daily decisions and the things that you involve yourselves in, right? Resilience, that's so powerful. Resiliency. Like you all are all resilient. Each and every one of you all on here, you're all resilient. And so I want you, as when Reggie sends this out, I want you all to be able to take some time to yourself and actually, if you haven't looked at what are my values, that again, this is not an exhaustive list, so you can also look up, you can just Google like a core values list and it'll bring up like over 200 words and things that you maybe just align your life with, right? And so I want you all to do that. And then just ways to honor those values as you begin to write them out, prioritize them, right? You matter. So whether you're the person that's like, hey, life has happened, I've experienced a traumatic event, I've experienced a traumatic brain injury, or maybe you're the caregiver that's like, life has shifted since I have come into this newfound role. Prioritize your values, set goals for yourself, right? Maybe you're like, hey, I want to make sure that if adventure is one of those things, get you a bucket list of things that you want to do. Take some time out, maybe at the beginning of the month, right? We're getting ready. We're in the last week of September. So maybe for October, begin to write down like, what are some goals that are important to me over the next month or maybe the next 3 months, right? They don't have to be extravagant. They can be just something that's important and valuable to you, right? And then revisit them. Don't just let them die and like lay dormant, like come back to them and say like, wow, what was it I said that I wanted to actually do? And try again, right? And then get some accountability. There's so many people that were just in this class today. And so connect with people. If you have people in your life that you can say like, hey, these are some things that I really value and I really just need some help honoring them. Get accountability. Check in with people. Let them know the things that you're wanting to accomplish or do or what are important to you. If it in For those that are caregiving on here, if that requires maybe saying like, hey, can you come support me while I go do this? right? Like this, it's maybe important for me to go on a walk. Maybe that's a value, right? Physical activity, something. Get some accountability that can help support those things for you. And then I have a few more, but I want you all to find balance. So acknowledging, right? So naming, so acknowledging whether you're a caregiver and or you're the one that has, maybe you're getting that support. Acknowledging what's going on in our lives is what begins to help us, right? Setting boundaries, not just sometimes with ourselves. Sometimes it's us. Sometimes it is us. It's not even, I have a million things. No. Hey, I got to check in with myself today. What are some parameters I have to set for myself to be well today? Right? And reclaiming our identity, because when we stay connected to those value systems, those passions, those relationships, that helps us reclaim the things that have maybe felt taken or stolen, or like where we've had to come into a new shape of something, right? And then seeking support, just like you all did today. You all showed up here. This was a part of finding that balance for yourself. Seeking support, sharing your story, allowing yourself to be known in this new space. That is one of the greatest things and gifts that you can give to yourself.
Michaela, the
Yeah.
idea is, I just for a second had to jump in because it's so wonderful. I think that, like, one of the greatest gifts we can give to ourselves is to check in with ourselves, like you're saying, and show up in our values. And
Yeah.
and when we feel grounded in our values, it can help us navigate some hard conversations, hard decisions, um, and can be really empowering. And again, like you say, help us set boundaries around what is really important for us, and help educate the people around us that are like, we love you, I care about you. And you're like, okay, this really matters to me. Like
Yeah.
this. So, yeah, I'm just appreciating what you're sharing, and how it all connects together in terms of creating like our identity, connecting with our identity.
Yeah. Connecting with our identity. Thank you. Lynn just said something, a term, differently abled. That's that's powerful. I love that. Um, these reflections, I just want you all to take these with you. Um, when we think about our identities, when we think about how our identities have been changed, right? Maybe we've changed the way we view ourselves or identify. Um, but there's a core you inside, no matter what. And as you maybe wrote out some of the things that you label yourselves as, or the things that are placed on you externally, I want you to really sit with which labels empower you and which ones exhaust you. What do you not want to carry anymore? What feels like too much pressure? And then what new label would you like to write for yourself? Right? We think, like, we kind of go back to that thought of, we go to urgent care and like we get that, we tell them kind of what's going on and they give us a prescription or whatever it is that they provide. But it's like, what's the new label that you want for yourself? Like, how do you want to show up, right? And what label do you want to take on, and what labels maybe did you want to drop today? And so, as you leave here today, I want you to sit with those two ideas of, how am I reclaiming my identity? And what are the labels that are just maybe the ones that are empowering me? And then what's no longer serving me? And how do I want to move forward from here? And so I want you all to just take that as um, another gift to yourself, really, right? To give yourself space to really sit and reflect on what's serving you and what's maybe not serving you in this season. And then make a decision daily, get an accountability partner, set some new vision and goals for yourself, so that as you step forward and continue on your journey, right, of recovery or the rediscovery of yourself, that you would be empowered by not what anyone or anything is placed on you, but who you view yourself as.
Thank
Um,
you, Michaela.
yeah.
Oh, excellent. Yep, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's what I have for you all today. I can take any questions or if anybody has any. I know we've come to time, so I want to honor time. I always like to put ways to connect with me. But
Mhm.
anything else that you have, Reggie, or any questions or anything that I can answer, I'm here to do that.
I am putting my also my email and my phone number so that people can follow up with me also if people want to continue to have some conversation or have some feedback on maybe some like a class that could spin off of this. I'm feeling like a class about goals. Like goal writing is a really powerful thing to do, but it can be helpful to have some guidance through that process. And we shift and change in our lives, and goals need to shift and change too, and that's all right. It can be exciting to speak those words to ourselves, if not out loud. So thank you all for your sharing, for your participation, for your presence, and Michaela, thank you so much for facilitating so
Thank
much
you.
of an engaging class today. It's been wonderful. Thank
It's
you.
been
Thank
amazing.
you.
Thank you all for being here. This was great.
Thank you so much.
You're
I hope
welcome. Thank
that
you.
you did something. Do your homework.
Yeah, everybody do their homework. Excellent. Well, I look forward to seeing as many of you as possible in another class, and I will be connecting with Michaela to be planning future classes. So thank you all. Thanks,
Thank
Michaela, so much. Thank you all.
Thank
Have a beautiful afternoon.
you.
I'm sorry.